Good evening and welcome to the Town of Corte Madera Planning Commission for Tuesday, May 26th. Please call roll.
Commissioner Bandel?
Here.
Commissioner Rogers? Commissioner Beshoyer?
Yeah.
Vice Chair Kenny?
Here.
And Chair Chase.
Here. Please join me in a salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. So we always ask for public comment for something that is not on tonight's agenda in the public comment section of. So if you have something other than what we're here to talk about, please step up to the microphone. Any hands raised for that opportunity? None in the room. Anybody online?
No hands raised.
All right, good to be sure. Thank you. So we will then move on to our new hearing tonight. So tonight we have a hearing for 537 Tamalpais Drive. This is designated as a design review application PL 26-0009 for an 827 square foot second story addition and 345 square foot first story addition to the existing split level residence at 537 Tamalpais Drive. Before we proceed, I think that all commissioners have been there. Is that true? Yes. All right. Thank you. Tracy, please.
Thank you, Chair Chase and Commissioners. As Peter said, this is an application for second story addition at 537 Tamalpais Drive. Next slide, please. Project site 537 Tamalpais Drive is developed with a 1,362 square foot split level single family home, and it's situated at the corner of Tamalpais Drive and Sausalito Street, as shown on the slide. To the south, there is a 16-foot wide public right-of-way, which is a public alley that provides vehicular access to the rear of the lot. The project site is 4,680 square feet in area. Development in the vicinity consists of single-family residences zoned R1 medium-density residential, the same as the project site. So those single-family homes are to the west and to the south and across Sausalito Street to the east. To the north, across Tamalpais Drive, are various commercial properties and additional single-family homes. The proposed project includes a total of 1,370 square feet of new floor area, consisting of a 345 square foot addition to the first story, and that's outlined in yellow on this slide. It also includes an 827 square foot addition to the second story. That's the red line outlined on this slide, which is positioned to the west edge of the home above the existing and expanded first story. The project also includes a new 198 square foot, one car detached carport at the rear of the lot on the existing parking pad. That's the green line on the slide. The existing residence encroaches into the street side yard setback. The setback lines are the pink dash line. The encroachment's a legal non-conforming condition. Both the first story and second story additions do meet setback requirements. The second story would be set back 17 feet to the front property line along Tamalpais. 15 feet is required in that direction. The first story addition is just over 49 feet to the rear property line, and 25 feet is required. The second story, of course, is recessed from the first story addition by almost 5 feet. The first story addition is set back 10 feet from the east property line, where 10 feet is required. And then the second story is behind that. It's recessed about 6 feet from the first story addition to the east property line, measures 16 feet, 3.5 inches. And again, 10 feet is required in that direction. On the west side, the first and second-story additions would be set back 5 feet to the west property line where 5 feet is required. And on the next slide is showing existing, proposed, and required development standards. The proposed project meets all R1 zoning development standards, including height, setbacks, parking, floor area, and lot coverage. The application, as I stated before, it includes the new carport because it's replacement parking for a carport that was demolished due to its condition. And the new carport would bring the site into compliance with parking standards. Next slide. On these next 2 slides, the area of addition is outlined in the red line. And the first story addition, as I said, is 345 square feet and would expand the kitchen and add a mudroom at the rear or south elevation of the home. And the next slide shows the second story. The existing second story includes 2 bedrooms and a bathroom. That's kind of at the bottom of the slide is the existing second story. Then you would go up a short set of stairs to the second story addition that would add a new primary suite. So a bedroom, a bathroom, and closets, and an additional bedroom and bathroom are also proposed with this addition. The additional bedrooms on the second floor would allow the owners to repurpose the lower story bedroom that's serving as the primary as a family room. The existing home, as I said, is just over 1,300 square feet in floor area with 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. The proposed home would be 2,534 square feet of floor area and would include 4 bedrooms and 4 bathrooms. The next slide, I just wanted to take a moment to illustrate the split level design. On here, green is outlining the first story and the blue outline is the second story. And then the area that is filled in with the light blue coloring, that is the second story addition. And the split level home uses short sets of stairs to connect the levels rather than the traditional 2-story design with a full set of stairs. The next slide is showing the north elevation of the home, which faces Tamalpais Drive. Tamalpais Drive is the front property line on the corner lot. There is a dashed line on all of the elevations in the plan set on A3.1, and the dashed line is indicating the outline of the existing home. I've translated that to these slides to the pink line. So on the right is the proposed north or front elevation. The existing front entry and an uncovered deck off the living room are visible on the north elevation, and the second story would be constructed over the first story on the west edge of the residence. The north elevation of the second story addition includes 2 proposed windows. One is at bedroom 4 and the other is in the bathroom next to it. There are no changes to the windows and doors on the first elevation, on the first story on this elevation. The first story addition to the kitchen is on the rear of the property, so of course not visible on the north. And the next slide is showing the south of the rear elevation, which obviously faces the rear yard. The existing kitchen is proposed to be demolished and rebuilt and enlarged as the first story addition. And the second story addition is positioned above the existing and expanded first floor. Large windows are proposed on the south elevation facing the rear yard. On the first story, that window is at the kitchen, and next to it is a glass door serving as access from the mudroom to the rear yard. The window on the proposed second story addition is at the new primary bedroom. This is the existing and proposed east elevation, which faces Sausalito Street. On this elevation and the west elevation, the proposed double hip roof design is clearly seen. A double hip roof design incorporates a hipped roof over the north and south portions of the second story addition with connected by a flatter roof between them. There are 2 new window openings on this second story. One would be in the existing second story bedroom, and a large picture window is proposed within the new primary bedroom. The first story addition includes 1 window at the new mudroom and 1 in the enlarged kitchen. Finally, the west elevation faces the side yard and the neighboring property at 533 Tamalpais Drive. The double hip design again on the bottom is clearly shown like it is on the east. There are 5 new windows proposed on the west elevation. 3 are at the second story and 2 at the first story. The 2 at the first story are in the enlarged kitchen, and then the 3 that are proposed in the second story are in bedroom number 4, in the primary bathroom, and in the primary bedroom. The maximum overall height of the existing home is 21 feet 7 inches. So the high point is actually on the east side of the existing home. And the highest point of the proposed home with the addition is 25 feet 2.5 inches. A maximum allowed height is 30 feet. And just to add, the ceiling height in the second story is 8 feet. The proposed colors and materials for the addition would include new composition roof shingles, horizontal siding painted white. It's called Benjamin Moore Simply White with matching trim, and white vinyl divided light windows and doors. Exterior lighting would be dark sky compliant and provided at entry points to the home. There is a materials board at the dais for your inspection, and also photographic materials on sheet A3.2 of your plan set. The next slide is showing that there are some modifications to landscaping. There's 3 large trees kind of in the rear yard. One is an oak tree. It's 87 inches in circumference, and it's proposed to be protected and retained. There's 2 cedar trees. One cedar tree number 1 is 108 inches in circumference, and it's kind of the one very much in the corner, the southeast corner of the site. The fire department's requiring it to be limbed up to 15 feet above grade, and it will be protected and retained. The second cedar tree is 105 inches in circumference. The Central Marin Fire Department is requiring removal of cedar tree number 2. When the addition is built, it would be within 30 feet of the residence and is a fire-prone tree. Therefore, they are requiring its removal. And additionally, there's a couple of dozen Italian cypress that line the west property line. These are also a fire-prone species and are within 5 feet of the residence, and therefore Central Marin Fire is requiring their removal as well. Just talking about neighbor outreach, the applicant states that at the beginning of their design development in the fall of 2025, they informed each of the adjacent neighbors that they were preparing to submit an application for a second story addition. This slide shows a map of the neighbors that the applicant's spoken with. The applicant and staff determined that installing story poles as soon as possible in advance of a public hearing would help staff evaluate project impacts and would aid neighboring property owners in understanding the project. And so story poles were installed on Friday, May 7th. On the next slide, showing the originally proposed project and the currently proposed project. The applicant's initial design featured a continuous ridgeline spanning the addition with gable ends. And that's the east elevation shown at the top of this slide. The maximum overall height of this design was 27 feet 8 inches with a roof pitch of 512. Following installation of story poles, the neighbors at 204 and 208 contacted the property owner regarding the project obstructing views of Mount Tamalpais as viewed from inside their homes. After meeting with the neighbors, the applicant made several changes to the design of the project. Story poles were first modified to reflect a lower 312 roof pitch, which lowered the height by 2 feet 2 inches. And then on Monday, May 11th, the applicant revised the roof design of the second story addition to incorporate the double hip roof over the north and south portions of the second story and the flatter part in between, as you see on the lower part of this slide. Story poles were adjusted to reflect this new roof configuration. The applicant at this time also lowered the top plate from 8 feet to 7 feet 6 inches. The change from the single gable to the double hip reduced the volume and massing of the roof, as you can see on this slide, and resulted in a reduction in height of 2 feet 5.5 inches from the initial design. As currently proposed, the high point of the roof would be 25 feet 2.5 inches. The modifications were intended to better preserve the views of Mount Tamalpais as viewed from 204 and 208 Sausalito Street across the street from the project site. On the next slide, please. Thank you. After the modifications to the proposed project, the owner of 204 Sausalito Street sent a letter of support for the project. Additional letters of support were received from 533 Tamalpais Drive. That's the home directly to the west. And most recently by the owner of 531 Tamalpais, which was sent to the Planning Commission this afternoon, is available in a hard copy on the dais and also at the back of the room if anyone is interested in reading that. The owner of 208 Sausalito Street, as included in my staff report, is a letter of opposition detailing remaining concerns with view obstruction and privacy impacts from the proposed second-story addition. The privacy impact is explained as a result of the proposed primary bedroom window on the second story's east elevation. And the next slide is showing a photo taken from 208 Sausalito Street. On Monday, May 18th, the owners contacted staff to view the story poles from their property. Their property is developed with a two-story home, which includes a modest-sized primary bedroom on the second floor. One primary window is included on the front elevation, where views are directed west above the project site towards Mount Tamalpais. The photo shown on this slide is taken when standing at the foot of the bed. A red line is added to the edge of the story poles to make the story pole string more visible in this photo. There's additional photos taken that were included as a staff report attachment number 4. The town and the commission is empowered to evaluate view impacts when a project is subject to design review approval. Finding 3 is at the top of this slide. Also included are 2 general plan policy statements that generally underscore that a balance should be struck between the right of a property owner to develop their property and the minimization of impacts of the proposed development project. Staff is seeking Planning Commission's guidance on whether the project has a significant and adverse impact. On Thursday, May 20th, the applicant included a further modified east elevation, which is attachment 5 to the staff report and shown on the screen here, which changes the roof pitch to a 412, which lowers the roof by another 9 inches and changes the primary bedroom window on the east elevation to a clear story window, if that would assist the commission in making required findings. Lastly, the options facing the commission this evening are one option would be to provide direction to staff to return to a future planning commission meeting with the appropriate resolution for consideration, or 2, the commission may elect to provide direction to the applicant so that they may return to the commission for future consideration. And that's all I have this evening. I'm here for questions. Obviously, the applicant is here as well to make a presentation at the appropriate time.
Thank you, Tracy. So to lay it out for everybody in the room, the commission will ask questions of staff next. Then we'll get a presentation from the applicant. Then we will ask the applicant lots of questions, after which we'll turn it into the public hearing section and anyone can comment on the application. And we will possibly query those commenters. And then after all that, we will take it back up here and talk about the application. So with that said, I'm going to turn over to my left and see if Margaret has any questions for staff.
I do. We haven't gotten to this topic yet, but I'd like somebody to lay out the control the commission would have over the neighbors' trees.
So I think you're talking about the tree that is
That's
located at 531 Tamalpais Drive.
the one that's addressed in this letter. Yes.
It is not something that can be added as a condition of approval. Ideally, the tree would be located on property under the control of the applicant, and in this case, it's not. So it couldn't be a condition of approval. It would be a neighbor to neighbor issue. These types of issues come up outside of design review processes and the neighbors are assisted in a matter like this with the tree ordinance, which has a view protection section that provides guardrails for neighbors to resolve these issues themselves when a tree grows up into a view. And there's some parameters around that, but that is the municipal code section that would assist in this matter.
When I've looked into it, as I understand it, the municipal code basically, if the neighbors can't resolve it, it goes to a court hearing. Is that correct?
Yes, there's a series of steps where a neighbor would distill in writing the view blockage that is occurring and provide that to the neighboring property owner so they could take action and they would assert their rights under the view protection ordinance. From there, if they can't come to an agreement, they will go to mediation. And from mediation as a last resort would be the courts. And this view protection ordinance was adopted in the 90s. And from my reading of the history of its adoption, the intent was to allow people steps to take to avoid going to court if possible. Yeah.
I don't have any other questions.
Okay, great. Andrew, how about you?
I just have one question. It had to do with our site visit today, where it was discussed that the new clear story window proposed was going to have a sill height of 5'4". I'm just wondering if that's part of what's been offered up by.
It is. The architect provided an exhibit, if you will, or a revised east elevation showing a revised window. And that's attachment 5 to your staff report. And that is very commonplace when there are privacy concerns that the commission would request that change be made. Oftentimes it's added as a condition of approval because it's a very simple change. Sometimes windows are, to make the privacy finding that it's not significant or adverse impact on privacy. The windows are relocated, their size changes, they're made inoperable, they're made opaque,
Right.
Or the sill height is increased, and those are all frequently used by the commission. So that could be direction or feedback that you give to the applicant that change would be necessary when they come back in order to make that particular finding, and anything else that you think might need to be adjusted.
Got it, because I think that was significant in terms of the privacy concern. So thank you.
Okay, yeah, we'll be hearing, I'm sure, from the applicant about that and be able to add a condition of approval if we so choose. Yeah, great. Valerie?
I just have a clarifying question to Andy's question. Is that possible to request to place a horizontal bar at the story poles just to understand where that 5'4" is going to be in relationship to the neighbor's window? Because I think 208 owner having a difficult time to understand like 5'4" relationship to the privacy. Perhaps that will be enough. Perhaps he will want to have it a little bit higher. Is
Yeah,
it possible to request that?
Yeah, I think they could string between the two existing story poles to illustrate the top and bottom of a proposed
Got
window.
it.
For instance, the actual shape of it is difficult because you can't put
Right, no,
it
just the
has to
bottom.
It
Yeah.
might be attached to something, but yeah, the top and bottom.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Valerie. Daniel?
When you've had these conversations back and forth with the applicant and the applicant's architect, did any other suggestions or ideas come up either from staff or from them relative to trying to mitigate this visual impact issue?
Potentially dropping the roof pitch additional from 412 to 312, which is a little flatter design.
And coming back to the privacy issue, the current suggestion of the sill height on the clear story windows facing east, was that their suggestion? Did you talk about options or other sill heights?
That's their suggestion. I think you typically, the commission deliberates on that a bit and comes to an agreement about, and it's typically somewhere between 5 and 6 foot sill height. Our ADU ordinance requires, when we're allowed to apply window objective standards for windows, I think it's a 6.5 foot sill height. But typically, I think when we are adding this as a condition, it's somewhere between 5 and 6. And when you shrink a window too much, it loses its value, and it would, if it's your sill height gets so high that it gets too close to the header, then most applicants then at that point delete the window. So it would be a question really for the architect is there how high could that go and still be of any value? And it's not an egress window. There's a window on the south elevation and a window on the west elevation. So I think, anything that the commission is comfortable with would be suitable.
One last question. Were you contacted by any other neighbors than the ones we've heard from in writing relative to either support or concerns or anything?
No.
Thank you.
Before we go to a presentation, just to clarify what we may hear about the windowsill height. If you stand in front of a 6-foot bar, you can't see anything downward, right? So it's a straight out shot. You can't.
It's your 6'6" or 6'8".
Right. So you can't look down at all on 6 foot sill. And we'll hear from the applicant and anybody else about this. So with that said, we're ready to ask for the applicant's presentation, and who will do that?
Okay. Can you hear me? All right.
Yes.
Good deal. Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for being here, commissioners. It was good to meet everybody. I didn't get to meet you. I was on a call, but anyway, we're excited to be here. When we first moved to Marin County, it was 2017. It was right after my father passed away unexpectedly, and we were rocked. We moved into a new town, and we found our home. When we lived in Petaluma, we lived in a 2,400 square foot house that we owned. And it was a big adjustment to move to Marin because obviously the house is smaller. And we thought we bought a 1,500 square foot house because we bought it off market. And it wasn't a 1,500 square foot house. It was 1,200. So that was a big adjustment, getting to that. And, we made it work. Let me see. Yeah, and it didn't matter to us at the time because my daughter, the oldest daughter, she's 5. I didn't do an introduction. I'm Corey. This is my beautiful wife, Charlie. Charlie. Jeez, beautiful wife, Maggie. My oldest daughter is Charlie. She's 13. She's going into Redwood as a freshman. We have Graham, who's 12. He's 7th grade going into Hall. And then we have Bella, who is 9. She's going into 4th grade at Neil Cummins. So it didn't matter at the time when we first moved in because we had a 5-year-old, 3-year-old, and 1-year-old, and they didn't have a lot of stuff. Well, times have changed. They have a lot of stuff and they're big and we're feeling the pain. So what's happening now is we've added some square footage to our house when we first moved in, 102 maybe, as a 4-foot bump out. And that was great. My wife has knocked some holes in some walls and created some lofts for our kids to sleep in. But it's been all positive where we've lived. We love our home. We love our community. There's been one negative, and it's a sewer story. It's a quick story. The town of Corte Madera was changing all the lateral lines on Sausalito Street. Our house was new. We had a new lateral line. We didn't have to change it. They didn't close our lateral line when they did a pressure test. There was a concrete in the pipe. It popped like a bullet. It was a 4-foot tidal wave of raw sewage that blasted our house, our master bedroom. We lost everything, clothes, furniture, picture books, to level 3 Blackwater. And then to make things worse, Our insurance denied our claim because it was sewage pushed from the outside of the property line in. So I had to fight Majuro Gelati and Travelers Insurance by myself. RJ was amazing in the public works, but this was lawyers are telling us to sue and we're not going to sue. That's not who we are as people, but we're also trying to keep this positive. So that's the one bad story. All the good stories now is our kids are thriving. My wife has had 2 businesses in Larkspur. She took over the old Frank's Barbershop and she turned it into XOXO Gift Co., which was this awesome gift shop for any gifting occasion. And then from there, we pivoted to the Shack ice cream parlor, and we hired over 35 employees, that were Redwood kids. And it was amazing. I got a $25,000 surveillance security system donated to Joe Wag because I'm in the security industry. So anyway, we love this place. And the whole reason we're here is my daughter, not my wife, my daughter, Charlie, who's 13, she's a teenager and she shares a room with a 9-year-old and they have the same bedtime. They have the same bedtime because we're only putting them down at the same time. She's going into high school at Redwood. She has no privacy. We want her to have privacy and we also want her to have her own space. I'm a twin. I never had my own space. I've never had my own room. I want to give my daughter my own room. And really, when it came down to this, we started this whole adventure. We talked to all the neighbors, and we asked for their blessing because we're not rich. Like this is a lot of investment to get here. And so when it came to like us going through this process, it meant a lot. We've tried to make a lot of changes.
Okay, there's the backstory now for the,
My name's Nora Fry. I'm the project architect. I'm going to talk about the design challenges we faced and the changes we made to minimize the impact on the neighbors. To the first slide. It's a small existing house, substandard lot size, 345 square feet of coverage, and a split level home. Next slide. 3-bedroom, 2 baths, 1,352 square feet for a family of 5. 42 square. The girls' bedroom, next slide, is so small, the mattresses are located in the attic. Next slide. The primary bedroom is a converted garage and doubles as a laundry folding area. It has a small closet under the stair. The bathroom has a laundry in it and there's no bathtub. Next slide. This lot is 60% smaller than the standard size lot. We only have 345 square feet of coverage, so that limits the size of the lower floor. Next slide. The only place to build is above the living space on the west side of the lot because the east side already has 2 stories and a 10-foot required street side yard setback. The green rectangle is the area that we have to work with. Next slide. All the adjacent neighbors were notified last fall. Only the neighbor at 208 had concerns about their view of Tam. The other neighbors said they were fine with the addition. They did not think it would be a problem. Next slide. The original design had a gable roof the same pitch as the existing roof. Next slide. As soon as we put the story poles up, the neighbor at 204 said it was impacting their view of Tam. So we changed the roof pitch to 3 and 12 and lowered the height by 26 inches. Next slide. This is the difference. Next slide. There was still an impact, so we changed the shape to a double hip roof. The first design had an 8-foot plate height, and that still impacted the view, so we changed it to 7.6. This resolved the issue for 204. They emailed the owner saying after the adjustments were made, they had no objections to the project. Next slide. This design had the approval of the neighbors at 204, 209, and 210 Sausalito, and 524 and 533 Tamalpais. At the time, we had heard no objections from 208. We submitted these plans. Next slide. This is a summary of changes made for 208 Sausalito. Next slide. This is a photo from the bedroom of 208 when the owners first mentioned they were planning an addition. This is the main issue of this project. This is the existing condition before we put story poles up. This is the baseline view. You need to compare the story pole photos to this view. The large tree on the left blocks 60% of the view. They are opposing a project for a view they never had. Next slide. This is a view of the cedar trees from Sausalito Street taken in February. Next slide. These are text messages from the neighbor asking us to keep cutting the tree. We made finding 3 when we cut the branches down and improved their view. If they already had a view, why would he keep asking us to cut the tree? Next slide. He's asking us to cut the tree again. We are actively improving their view by cutting the cedar trees. Next slide. These are all the branches that were cut just 2 weeks ago. On the left, the back tree, at the right, the front tree. Next slide. This is finding 3. The new improved view after cutting about 10 feet of lower branches off the cedar trees. This view is only 2 weeks old. This is a benefit to the neighbor as a result of this project. Next slide. Here you can see their new view on the top and their original view on the bottom. They did not see anything out the left side of the window. And on the right side of the window, the view of the top of Tam was blocked. Now they can see 2 lots away. There is much more light and their view is doubled. Next slide. Their view has already been doubled with the removal of the branches. And when this tree comes down, they have the potential to quadruple their view, all as a result of this project, a huge benefit. This is finding number 3. Next slide. Also, the bed does not face the view. If the view is important, the bed would face the view or be placed with a headboard on a sidewall. There is no sitting area in the room, or couch, or chairs looking out the window. There is no window seat or bench. The primary use of this room is for sleeping. Next slide. The main living space is at the back of the house, facing east. Next slide. Another change we made for them is a hip roof. Here he is texting back a drawing the owner had texted them, asking for a hip roof. He asked again when the town will let us remove the tree. There's no mention of any privacy concerns. Next slide. This is a design the owner showed them, and they were so happy they hugged the owner. Again, no mention of privacy concerns, no indication whatsoever that they did not support the project. Next slide. Still, another change we made May 20th after learning from Tracy about their concerns for privacy. We changed the window to a clear story and also changed the pitch to 4 and 12 and lowered the peak by 9 inches. Next slide. I wanted to set the record straight regarding the image in the neighbor's letter. The image to the right is at least 20% larger than reality. Next slide. Here you can see the outline of the house through this image. If this image was correct, the existing house would be where the red lines are. You would not be able to see the trees and the neighbor's chimney where he is showing the existing house. Next slide. Regarding privacy, there is a busy street separating the 2 houses, and the addition is set back 16 feet, 3.5 inches from the property line, making 66 feet, 3.5 inches between the addition and the front property line of 208. That's as big as an entire lot. The Seekies are the ones giving up privacy by cutting a tree so the neighbors can see into their yard. Nevertheless, in an effort to compromise and lessen the impact on the neighbors, they have agreed to changing the bedroom window to a clear story with a sill height of 5'4". Next slide. The project was designed to minimize impacts on neighbors. Gable roofs were eliminated, replaced with double hip roofs. A 7'6" top plate's used. The new second floor is set back 16 feet, 3.5 inches from the property line. Hip roofs are neighbor friendly. They are at their lowest at the eaves and only rise to the peak in the center of the roof. It's 4 feet, 9.5 inches below the height limit at its peak. The first floor is maximized. The second floor steps back from the ground floor on 3 sides. Clear story windows preserve privacy. Next slide. In conclusion, we have made every practical change to minimize the impact to neighbors. We are presenting a reasonable solution that is fair for both parties and strikes a balance for the Seekies to continue to live in their house and for the neighbors to have more sunlight more TAM view, and a greater sense of space. The neighbors cannot oppose a project based on a view they never had. Their view before this project is shown on the bottom image. Finding number 3 is the net gain, improved view in the top image as a result of this project. Any other impact to their view is due to the other neighbor's tree. And now, because of the Seeki's intervention with this neighbor, she has agreed to let an arborist trim her tree. She sent an email to Tracy this morning. As you can see, the Seekis have gone above and beyond to improve the view of their neighbor. Please approve this project as submitted with a condition to include the clear story window. Thank you.
Thank you. Before you go anywhere, I'll see if any of the commissioners have questions for you. What do you think, Valerie, about this? I have questions for her.
I do have a question. Before I go into the question, I do want to make a comment. As you mentioned, the observation, in your observation that there's no seating in your in 208 master bedroom to look at the view, but they do have a mirror on the dresser that kind of reflects the view. And that's definitely something that they wake up to every morning. But besides that, the question was, have you looked at the design where you do keep more of a symmetrical, kind of a symmetrical roof there? So you keep the gable on the north side of the roof and you flatten the ridge of the south one, or you just have, because you don't have really a ceiling that is open and pitched. You have a hard lid ceiling throughout with 8-foot height, in fact. So you have a small attic space over the south roof or under the south roof. So the question is, would you consider, or did you consider in your design to just eliminate that pitch on the south and just create a ridge that is kind of, going across throughout, keeping the north as is?
Yes, I did consider that, and it really does not look good. And the Seekis spend most of their time in the backyard. That's the only private space they have. It's a small lot, as you know, and their 3 children are growing. And that is the view that they see. And it's really, I think what we're offering and all the changes were made is very fair and reasonable. And I just don't think that's a reasonable request.
Okay, thank you.
Daniel.
Yeah, if the commission felt that the sill height of the new clear story windows needed to be at 6 feet, because 5'4" is easy to look over, would you keep the clear story windows at that sill height, or would you eliminate them?
I'm not really sure, but I would like to tell you why. I mean, I always like to do a drawing first to analyze it. Since the top plate is 7'6", the top of the windows are only 7 feet. So possibly, but the reason it's at 5'4" is because the Seekis aren't very tall and they're not going to be looking, they physically cannot look out of that window. But if that's the only option, I think we would make it 6 feet if that's the only option.
Okay. And I have a question for staff, but maybe we could come back to that.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Margaret, do you have any questions for the architect here?
I do. In the letter that came today that we have in front of us, it said, one option recently put forth was that the second peaked roof in back of the house be made flat. Did you consider that?
I think that's what Valerie was just
Oh, okay.
asking. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what letter you're talking about.
No, it's a comment letter from 208. And so they're saying that that was a consideration. I hadn't heard that. I don't know if staff had heard that previously, but Valerie just asked if that had been part of the consideration, and architect just responded that she felt that was not yeah.
Okay. I don't have anything else.
Okay. Andrew.
Questions, but I did want to note that the clear story windows in the map. Oh, sorry. I did want to note that the clear story window that's been proposed in the master bedroom is right above the bed and the side tables. So I don't see that someone's going to stand up there and try to look out the window at the neighbor. That's just a
Okay.
comment.
Respond to that?
You may certainly add a comment.
Yeah, well, one is they could rearrange the furniture.
Of course.
And the second one is you may say they're short people, but the next owners may not be short people.
Right.
Okay.
Agreed.
That's
Yeah.
why I said if that's the only option, I'm fine. I was just trying to explain why I ended up with a height of 5'4".
We would typically discuss that up here, but that's fine to make that comment. Yeah. Okay. So I don't have any questions for you. So with that said,
That's rolling.
we will come back to that. Yes. You're saying about the window. She just.
No, has to do with the image shown and what the view.
Oh, okay. I didn't know you had that question. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
what the view was like before any of the tree trimming and so forth was done. And that's the first time I've seen that image.
Yeah.
And I'd like staff to respond whether they've seen that image before and explain, I don't understand what trees were removed that now created the image that wasn't there months ago.
My understanding is that in evaluating impacts in conjunction with their neighbor, that either the neighbor took that or the property owner took that. Staff wasn't present for the taking of that photo. So I'm not aware of what the tree looked like from the window. I've only been to the neighbor's home after the tree was cut.
So has the pine tree been removed? That one pine tree been removed?
No, there's two cedar that were both at the time of
Limb.
story pole installation, they were both limbed up as you saw when you did your
And
inspection.
there was one the fire department wants to be removed.
Yes, the one that's closest to the home. So if you're looking west, there's two cedar trees, one on your left and one on your right. The one on the right is the one that will be totally removed.
Okay.
That's the one that the view was opened up with by uplimbing, removing the limbs. And so that's going to come out entirely of the plant. Right. So, okay, yes.
Just wondered if the attorney had anything more to add about tree views and seeing 3 tree views and control of tree views and anything that we've missed.
No, nothing that staff hasn't already addressed, but if you have any specific questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Okay, I just wondered if we were missing anything legally.
Okay, we all good here to go to the next step? Okay. All right. So now we open it up for public comment. So, given the neighbor's importance to this process, I'll give you a little more time. The other commenters, I'll limit to 3 minutes, I think. But please step up and I'll give you 5 minutes to make a presentation or statement.
Can you hear me okay? My name is Bill Alexander. That's my wife Nadine and Tebby.
Hello.
And thank you for all the time you've spent on this and meeting with us. I really do appreciate it. Before I started, I did want to say that I'm incredibly saddened and have lost a lot of sleep sincerely on this event. And I'm saddened that this has happened between us because we've all been great neighbors for years, and it's rough. So I just want to put that out there. I don't want to be too sappy on the subject. In regards to what we were just shown, if you get a chance to look back at those images, the image the architect showed from November from our window, it's not Montana, it's Christmas Tree Hill. So it was a cloudy day. It was in November. You can't even see the mountain in those pictures. So I hope that you have a chance to go back and look at that and you'll be like, oh yeah, that's not even, you don't even see the ranger station at the top of the mountain. And I pointed that out to Corey the Friday that he came over and he started 8 o'clock in the morning, right after the poles went up the night before, and started cutting branches away. And I was trying to say to him, because this was all happening out of the blue so quickly, that I was trying to say to him, like, reality is you're cutting trees that you don't need to, or cutting branches you don't need to be cutting. They're just giving me a view of your yard. That's nothing. There's one little branch over there that I can see sticking out that goes in front of the mountain. And at that point, he said, well, I have to do this because I'm not sure if I'm going to get the permit to cut them and get approved to cut that tree down. So I was like, okay. I go, but once you start cutting the branches, you can see that there's another tree behind. I didn't realize this. Neither one of us realized this at the time, that there was another tree behind. And that's the woman, the neighbor, Amy, that we talked about. At that point, we talked about, okay, he'd contact Amy. He's good friends with her, that conversation would occur and they would work to get that tree cut. And repeatedly in the next week, I would see him out on the street and I'd be like, and I've even shown text messages where I'm like, any luck with Amy in that tree? No luck. So that's where we decided to say, okay, we're going to hold back here because we're not seeming to have any connection. And at that point, I thought I'd just work with the commissioners and see if we can try to figure out something to resolve it at that point. One other note to make, when there was a text about the roof that came from me, it was after a conversation with the neighbors at 204. They had already said that there were thumbs up on it, but in talking with them, just nonchalantly, they had mentioned, hey, wonder if it would help us all if they could get rid of the gable to an angle all the way around. And I said, yeah, that should help everything. You know, let's see if it does. So we mentioned that to them and they approved that. And I said, that's great. And it was a conversation, a text message that I had in regards to helping 204 and us as well. So that's as far as it went with the conversations at that point with the text message with Corey. In regards to the red cedar, I think I've already addressed that, but I did want to just kind of highlight a couple of the things I sent today. If you want to see a picture of how the view looked from our view of our window I can send you the actual photo, and the date of the photo was from probably about 4 or 5 years ago. Is this on the very first page? That's the view we've always maintained for the past 10 years by trimming the Italian cypresses and the small tree that was in front of Amy's house, in between Amy and Corey. Those are the trees that we've taken care of and we've paid to have maintained so that we've been able to always have a view from the left of the peak, just south of the peak, and then the whole right side of the north side of the mountain itself. Back to what we were talking about on these notes. If the commission feels that finding 3 cannot be made, staff requests the commission provide feedback and guidance to the applicant to address specific concerns. One option recently put forth, and we talked about this earlier, was that the second peaked roof in the back of the house could be potentially made flat. That was just something that just happened in the past 24 hours, and today, matter of fact, that conversation. We please ask that this compromise be considered to just keep the overall vista view with a minimal view loss along the bottom of the north slope. And the main reason why I thought this would be worth bringing up today was because I don't want them to lose any square footage. Their kids are amazing and they deserve all the space they can have. And I want that for them. I don't want them to lose 1 square foot. I was just hoping that we could actually just work out a real compromise instead of a game playing by cutting branches. There's none of that even had to happen. Since the red cedar removal, due to a new carport being built, we found out later, there's the hemlock right behind in the other neighbor's yard. And we're just finding out now that the applicant is coordinating with Amy, the neighbor, to remove or to trim it back. And we're happy that that's going to be happening as well. Regarding the privacy, I know that we've had conversations regarding the window, and hopefully, the privacy issue would be fine if they could just keep it at 6 feet to where it's like, walking up and you're just not, you're gonna be glancing right down in our window. As I've shown you all, we would have to have the blind up high to block that view. And that's basically what we're talking about here. It's just saying, hey, please work with us a little on the privacy. That's all we need. Please work with the neighbor to bring that tree back. And maybe, like the suggestion of a flatter roof in the back might suffice. And
Bill, can I interrupt you?
sure.
Can I summarize what you brought to the table tonight? So you're contesting their history of the photos and so forth. That's one thing.
Absolutely.
Number two is that, let's be clear about the privacy factor. You want a 6-foot sill for that window.
Yes, sir. I just basically the whole point of that kind of a window is to block a view coming down.
Right.
And if it's 5 foot,
Okay.
then anybody can be standing there.
Secondly, or thirdly, then there seems to be a lot of history about the neighbor and the tree. And I'm just going to put it out there that the neighbor said she didn't want the same kind of cutting that you had arranged for before. She wanted a professional arborist to do it, and she would let them do that. So it becomes a non-issue if they get that taken care of. We can't do anything about that. I said that to you on site. That's between you guys. You got to work it out. And that's to clear that view. You've done the trimming before. It seemed to work for you. And now they're going to arrange for a better view. That's a clear understanding of that?
That would help us.
Okay.
With the view.
Great. So then the fourth thing or the other thing is the flat roof that you are
Yes, sir.
having an issue with. Okay. You'd like that, but that would change the architecture of the addition.
Right.
Right.
But
Okay.
and hopefully not lose the square foot.
Right. No, and I don't think that would be it, but it would be a change to that appearance of the building. So anything else you want to add to that? Okay. Thank you.
You got
All
it.
right. Who else would like to comment if we have another commenter? Yes, please. Nadine. I'm going to limit you to 3 minutes.
Yeah, I'll be
Okay.
succinct. Can you see me first? I'm Nadine Antebi, Bill's wife. And first, I just want to say, I really want you to get this project. I want this to work out for you. You should have like a functional living space. I mean, it's a small space for a family of 5. So we want this to work out for you. And so we're hoping that, it could work out for both of us. So there's just the two concerns, just to summarize. One was the privacy issue. So I hope, that can be addressed with the window, what's it called? Clear story window. And then definitely dealing with Amy's tree, that will help give us back some of the view. I want to say, like, we really do cherish this view, and I appreciate that all of you came by to see what the view is, because the photos that were provided by the planning board and the architect don't really represent what we see. And my husband delivers me coffee every morning in bed, and we sit in bed and look at the reflection of the mountain in the mirror, and that makes me late for work, unfortunately. But it may not be some big expansive view that others get in Marin County, but it is a view that we really cherish. So I just want to underscore that. And, when the story polls went up, it was a little bit alarming, because it's like, oh my God, that whole right side of the mountain is just cut. And then there's, in the center, fortunately, the peak of the mountain. So with the trimming of the cedar tree, it helped a little bit, just like a smidge, but really there's that tree in the back that that would really open things up to make up for what was lost, or what's lost on the right. So I really hope, we can work something out, because, this is unpleasant, and we don't want this to be antagonistic. I think communication broke down, and I'm really hoping that we can. Okay. And that's it.
All right, thank you, Nadine. All right, who else in the room would like to make a comment? Anyone? Got an audience there, but nobody's standing up. Okay. All right, so is there anyone online that has a hand up?
No hands are raised online.
Okay. So before we go into sort of consideration here, I think I want to just restate what we heard is that, and as part of the application, that cedar tree comes down if this is approved, right? So the cedar tree is no longer there. You guys, Bill and Nadine, you understand that, right? Okay, it's not going to be a part of it. And then you guys have to work out the other view blockage with the tree. So we can't do anything about that up here. But hopefully that gets you to a place where you guys can neighborly work out a way to keep the tree trim. That's something else besides what we could do. Okay, so we'll close that public comment section of this agenda and bring it up here for discussion about this. I think there's lots to chew on. But I'm going to start with you, Valerie, and ask you your thoughts about this. I'm not saying that if you get to a conclusion, great, but
Probably not. But I do want to start with, I appreciate the growing family. I can feel the pain. I totally get it. Kids are growing up and they need more space. So I also appreciate all of the revisions that you guys have made so far, and accommodating various neighbors. And it's tough. It's a tough case. To me personally, when I went to 208, I did see the issue and issues there. That ridge, when it slopes down, it's not just the view of the mountain, but it also opens up a lot of sky. And that sky is what kind of creates that daylight view in that bedroom. And I do see that once the structure is up, and the south of Mount Tam, the East Peak will be visible. It will not be the same because sky view will be limited, and I don't think there is a notion of realization to that, and it will be a different view. Even though some preservation will happen, but it will never be the same. And to me, that's probably the toughest portion of it, because seeing the ridge, that's what kind of makes that only one view in that house that is kind of cherished, and I appreciate why they cherish it too. So that's one of the reasons why I asked whether or not architect considered to kind of flatten the roof and carry it over to the south side, because to me, that would be aligned with all of the houses that are down the line. When you look through the 208 bedroom, you see 3 or 4 houses that are going on to Malpais, right? They all have the ridge kind of consistently throughout, some a little bit higher, some a little bit lower, but none of them are preventing the view onto the area. In fact, we recently have approved the project that was also on the corner of Tamalpais. They had the gables, but they were facing the west, and they had that lower ridge that, again, for the neighbors that were next to them, right, like that ridge was open. So to me, I feel like with all of that said, I by no means want you guys to lose the square footage. Square footage is priceless, and it's you guys need it. So I would like to see perhaps a consideration for a revision to where you keep the ridge consistent with how other houses in Corte Madera are facing the ridge of Mount Tam. So that's kind of, I haven't come to the conclusion yet, like in terms of, whether it's yes or no, right, in a way, but I would like to see if the applicant would be open to provide some revisions in order to preserve not just the East Peak view, but the actual ridge of the mountain.
okay.
I don't know if it's helpful.
All right, thank you. We'll end up with that discussion later on, but Dan, so you next.
Well, I also appreciate what the applicant and their architect has done to try to respond to concerns of the neighbors. I think there's been a significant amount of change to the roof, both the shape of the roof and the height of the roof. And now the response to the clear story window. I will say I would support the window sill being 6 feet. I think, I don't think 5'5" or 5'4" really completely addresses the privacy issue. And that room has 3 windows facing south and 3 big windows facing west. So I don't think it's a matter of like significant light. I think, I guess the real issue is finding 3 relative to the view, because I think sunlight and, sunlight, shadow, and those other issues in 3, I think, are not really issues for this not problematic issues. I think I would not want to see the roof in the second hip roof lowered to a flat roof. I think one of the things that we're responsible for is to think about how additions and new homes and so forth fit into the neighborhood. And given the character in this neighborhood, I think it would make it look out of fitting with the neighborhood to do that. I'm hopeful that that if the pruning could be worked out to improve the view sufficiently, that would satisfy the problem.
Okay. And we can take this back up a little bit, but I appreciate that positive conclusion, so to speak, almost a conclusion. Margaret, how would you address these things?
I look at it from the point of view of somebody who's gone through a view issue myself. Well, Tracy, I was having flashbacks. I looked at the view, and right now, when you look out that window, it doesn't block the entire view. However, it is the only view that these people have of Mount Tam. It's the so it does become their primary view, and that's part of the language that the design review findings have to be made. Does it have a significant impact on them? It does. They just told us it has a significant impact on them. They specifically put their bed in a place that faces a mirror, put up the mirror so that they could enjoy the view when they walk into the room and also when they're in their bed. So clearly they enjoy that view. They use that view. Does it have an adverse effect? Yeah, they would be adversely affected if that view was diminished, but right now it would not be entirely taken away from them. It would just be, as I said, diminished. I'm not going to address the privacy issue because being only 5 feet tall, I could barely see out of the window once the shade was halfway up. This doesn't really, it looks like it's a distance away from, I don't think people stand at their window and peer into other people's windows. These are people in the neighborhood, and I'm not going to address that. It's up to anybody else. I don't think that we're in a position to judge how that room is used. It's the only view in the house, and we can't say how much or where the furniture is or how it's used. It's the only view in that house. I have a suggestion, though. I think that if the commission postpone the resolution of this and in the meantime got a arborist to kind of spell out what could be done with that. Is it the ash tree? Ash tree. And I know they have ways of illustrating what could be taken down or how it could be, the branches could be trimmed in whatever way an arborist could give everybody a better idea of what it would look like. And I actually think it would enhance the view if that tree wasn't even there, but it would give a more centered view of the mountain and allow them to keep the beautiful sunset view that's over to the right, and it wouldn't change the gables of the house or the roof line of the house. It would just, I think, be better for everybody. So that's what I'm thinking about.
Okay. All right. We'll talk about that in a minute, but I want to go to Andrew and see what you have to say.
It was really helpful to go out to your property today, Bill and Nadine, and see from your perspective, especially with the story poles. And I do understand and can appreciate the partial loss of view that you're going to have of Mount Tam. I did come away though thinking that tree work at Amy's property, which she has kindly offered up, I think that's going to open up more view than you would lose from the second story addition to your neighbor's house. That was my conclusion. As far as the privacy concern goes, I can't help but think that the distance between the houses and as Margaret pointed out, the probable lack of desire of your neighbors to look into your window, I don't see that as a major concern. And I do appreciate that the willingness to create a clear story window with even a sill height of 5.4 is significant. And I appreciate that you couldn't see out of it at that height. And I do think that if we went with a 6-foot sill height, the window goes away because there's about 12 inches of height left for the glass itself. So I'm supportive of that change that's been made. And furthermore, I really appreciate all of the changes that were made from the original one. And I think the fact that, you know, even recently the roof pitch dropped a bit and that your roof plate or ceiling plate is at 7'6", that's about as low as it can get. So I think that there's been a lot of changes made that were very sensitive to the neighbor's concern. And I do not want to see, I think I really like the design with the double hips. I do not want to see the rear roof going to a flat roof. I just think that architecturally that would be unfortunate, and especially because they're on a corner, that's actually very visible. So yeah, that's my thoughts.
All right. Well, thank you, Andrew.
Sure.
We always say that these are the hardest ones for us to consider. And we say that a lot, and this is the case where this is very true. I'm sorry to see the animosity creep into this. And I'd hope that this can find a resolution. It's necessary to live well together. But to Margaret's comment about the tree trimming, again, I think it's going to be up to them to maintain that. And Amy has agreed to let them do it appropriately and open it up quite a bit. I think that will happen. With the cedar tree gone and that opened up, it'll make a world of difference. And I think Andrew and I agree with that. That'll open it up. I think that the sill height issue is one that I agree with Andrew. If it gets to be a 6-foot sill, you're not going to be left with anything more than a 1-foot window. Architecturally, from the side of the building, that's not going to look very good. but you almost need something there. You could keep the window at the 5'4" and obscure the glass up to 6 foot, something like that. So I think that there's a way that we've dictated before on other applications to have an architecturally acceptable window and the frosted glass is up to 6 foot. You'd have to tear the window out to get that changed. Most people won't do that once it's installed. But that would make it look good from the outside of the house. You'd have appropriate light from the inside, and then you wouldn't be able to see out below the 6 foot line. So that would be an 8-inch strip of frosted glass at the max in that window. That would leave a foot of sky view. That would be nice to have. I think the light from that side of the building is important. You get the dawn, early morning light coming through that window. I think it's important to keep it, if at all possible, to have that window there rather than just delete it. Very nice. So we've dictated that in the past and it seems to have worked. Haven't heard any complaints about the frosted glass and the obscure inside the insulated glass. You can't take it off. It's inside. So I think that might solve the privacy issue if everybody would be amenable to that. Then I agree with the fact that the loss of the back rear double hip roof would be an architectural problem. When you look at the aerial view of the homes there, I think that going to a flat roof would simply be out of place in that neighborhood. So and to Andrew's point, I think that getting the view from the left side of the addition through the removal of the cedar tree and the trimming of Amy's tree, you gain a lot, you get something there. The trimming is going to have to be something in place, and neighbors can do that for the most part over the years. And it's going to have to be maintained. Everybody's going to have to say every couple of years, 5 years, somebody goes over and trims that tree back. You got to work that out. But in general, I think that the plan is the best way to maximize the property. I think you guys have done a remarkable job in conceding things as time has gone by, which points to the fact that it's a process. You start with an idea and then it changes. And that's the dialogue that has to occur between neighbors. It just happens. It's organic. It does occur. You can't say, this is what I want and that's the way it is. Those projects have failed. But if you have given into creating possibility, which you've done, that helpfully ameliorates conflict. And you've done that to a large extent. And I think there's a little more to go here. So we see designs get changed and we can condition this with that windowsill and we can just express that we'd like to see the trees trimmed, but we can't do a darn thing about it. So that's up to you guys to deal with the town ordinance. So I'm going to go back over to Valerie and see what else she has to say after hearing everybody else speak.
Well, in terms of the privacy, I agree with you all. I don't mind the 5'4". It doesn't bother me. I don't think anyone can even use the window. Like at 5'4", that's already high, I feel like. And yes, perhaps the next person, might be taller, but there's no desire across the street to someone to peek into someone's bedroom. So I feel like 5'4", it's a good solution and a good compromise. And that's one of the reasons I asked for the accommodation on the story pole, so that kind of to ease the neighbor to see like where they are, like not necessarily, right, kind of indicate where the 6 would be, but the 5'4". In terms of I never was suggesting the flat roof. I know it would look awful. I was thinking maybe it's just a lower ridge that kind of goes, right, like, under, like, goes from the north higher roof and kind of lowers down, but still pitch, still a ridge, just something there. I do feel loss of that ridge, even with the arborist coming over. That tree would just open up the peak itself, but the sky will be lost. And I don't think from that particular bedroom, they will just see a little triangle of a sky. And I kind of feel that probably my strongest
Even at that distance
objection.
away, you feel like.
But I think it's because of that distance away, because the way their bedroom is situated, the way the sky hits on the angle their bedroom, that's the only thing that they can see. And once the structure is there, they will lose the sunset, they will lose that view. So I feel I cannot find the findings even if the trees are cut, just because that particular roof pitch is still a little too high to close that view, just personal opinion. But I can make the privacy. Privacy is totally fine.
All right. Yeah, what are your thoughts? Sam? You want to skip?
Yeah, I don't have any additional.
Okay. All right. So then I'm going to go back over to you, Margaret, and see if you have any other thoughts about.
when I suggested that the arborist might give us a view of what it would look like, I thought it would make our job easier. That's why I suggested we postpone it, because it might make our, any objections we had to the view loss easier for us to swallow.
I get that, yeah.
And so I still think it might be to postpone the final decision and see what it might look like. And it also might make, when you see something on paper and there's a picture of it, it might make a commitment it's sort of a commitment. Here it is on paper, let's follow through kind of thing. And so I understand about the double hip roof. It does look better. It looks better. And I'd hate to see, animosity growing up about a view and about trees, but that's the way neighborhoods seem to be going.
Yeah. Any other thoughts, Andrew?
One thing I come back to with projects like this is that both property owners have the same rights in terms of what they're allowed to build according to the zoning ordinance. And so I think sometimes it's unfortunate when it seems like the last person in seems to have less ability to build out a second floor. I am sensitive to the view ordinance, and I understand that that plays into this, but I also understand that this family of 5 needs the space, and I can really appreciate all of the revisions that were made along the way to try to accommodate the neighbors' concerns. And it seems like most all the neighbors are supportive of the project. And I really like the design. I like how it's come together, and I think it'll be a nice asset to the neighborhood. So I'm supportive of the project as designed.
One thing, Peter, I wonder on this clear story window, since there seems to be a consensus, I think, to keep the window at 5.4, maybe we could provide that direction to staff and to the, and I mean, at least that would get one thing resolved.
Yes,
I agree.
yeah. We could say it as that attachment is in the attachment 5, I think in the staff report shows that with the higher 5.4 sill, and if you want to add a line of obscure glass in there. So that would be that resolution. I think that in the interest of moving it forward, we can ask staff to prepare the resolution, or because we have nothing to really vote on here tonight, agreement about what we would like staff to add to it. The idea of getting an arborist who would go out there, look at the tree, make a proposal, and just say what they might want to about what want to do to it. I think that the tree is in need of significant pruning. There's a lot of dead wood in it. There's all kinds of issues with it. It needs a good back pruning so it'll regenerate in a smaller version more fully. an arborist will just say, take X amount of feet off of it or something like that and remove dead wood and do all of that. I don't know how distinctive they could get about how much that's going to open view or how much they take off. I'm interested in getting the project moved forward for these guys. I have no idea what their time frame is, but if we don't come back with either a resolution that we approve on consent, then we have to have another public hearing. That has to be scheduled. So there are various reasons for trying to come to an agreement about what it would look like to put it on consent. If we can direct staff to prepare a resolution, that's the best thing that we could do to move them along. If we can't, it puts their approval out into July or later with a public hearing on this matter. So, any staff have any comment on that?
Say that we do not have a full commission on June 9th. We have a full commission on the 23rd. I will say we have full agendas through August. So we'd be challenging you all to get through multiple items of significance on all of these dates. But I think if the applicant team and if Tracy's willing to move forward with some urgency, June 23rd would be ideal because we still have Margaret, who is leaving the commission July 1st. And we have a new commissioner coming in after that point.
Okay, so there's a good impetus to consider it with this group of commission. Yes.
With 5, all of you.
So what I'm hearing is that Valerie is not in agreement with the roof plan at this point. Yeah. Okay. And I understand the look of that, and I have no idea how an architect might work it out at all. But that's a possibility that we have, I think, 4 commissioners that would say, keep the double hip roof. Is that correct? Yeah. And you'd be on that solo there. The other thing is then we've got commissioners 3 that would say the 5-4 sill would be appropriate. Do we want to obscure the glass? No? We're done. Me too, Peter. Okay. All right. Okay, and Margaret, are you going to abstain from that issue on the obscure glass or the 5-4 sill height? Okay.
Okay.
All right. So that said, can we direct staff to prepare a resolution? Look at everybody and say, give me a nod, yay or nay. Okay. And that resolution then would include the 5-4 sill height and the acceptance of what's in the attachment 5 drawing, right? That's what we've got. So how do we want to proceed with asking staff for that? Do you want to vote, or do you want to just say that that's okay?
Can I ask, I'm guessing that you're talking about a resolution to approve,
On
So-
consent,
or would you need on consent?
yeah.
Okay.
So that would mean that what we just talked about would go into a resolution, and that we might end up with less than a unanimous vote, but we would get it before a vote on consent.
I would suggest maybe keeping it off consent if you have anyone that wants to comment.
Okay,
And if there's likely opposing votes of any number. So I think we could keep it on as an additional public hearing. We could continue to a date time certain, therefore it doesn't have to be renoticed, and we'll save a little bit of costs on their end and administrative time. But I don't know if this is ripe for consent.
okay. I appreciate that. Yeah, and that's good advice. So then we're.
I have a question, when would that come back?
I'm suggesting June 23rd. You would want to check with the
Yeah,
applicant team
just gonna do that.
and then Tracy has another item on that date. So I just want to be sensitive to Tracy and make sure she's comfortable with that too.
I think that was a yes.
All right. So, all right, given all of that, I'm gonna look at the applicant and ask if all of that is acceptable to you. Do we bring it back for a public hearing on a date certain? These guys will say what that date is. It's in June. And then we would have another public hearing. And at that point, you would have to go through this again, but we would have public comment from everybody, anybody, and we would vote on a new resolution in front of us. No,
No, it's
No.
not agendized for any action tonight. This is just discussion direction. And so what we're asking is if you're available on June 23rd, or if you need something later than that. Okay, if you're available on June 23rd, I think that's what we would plan for. No,
no, the general consensus of staff and us is it should be before us. So I appreciate that direction. So it would be in the room on the agenda.
you'd still want to show up regardless whether it was consent or regular calendar.
Would be considered a continued hearing. For a date certain.
All right.
Okay. So I see or hear some reluctance over there, but from. Okay. All right.
Chair Chase, if I may interrupt. Chair Chase.
Yes.
Pardon the interruption. I've been listening to all of the advice and the recommendation and what staff has recommended for the continued date is great. To be hyper technical with compliance for the Brown Act, I would recommend a motion to continue this item, the public hearing, state the date certain, and provide the direction to staff in that motion and take that vote today.
Great. Okay.
Please.
We'll do that then. So we'll ask for a motion from a commission member to take this to a date certain, June 23rd, with those elements in the resolution of that are per attachment 5.
Great. Commissioner Bandel? What's that? Oh, sorry.
Need someone to say that and second.
I so move.
All right, second.
Second,
Second, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Commissioner Bandel?
yes.
Commissioner Rogers?
Yes.
Commissioner Bushoyer? Vice Chair
Yes.
and Chair Chase.
Yes. Okay. Thank you for that, Erica. All right. So there you have it. We've gotten to that point. We need to come back in the room and have this discussion again, but we'll have some certainty about what we're looking at. And I think we achieved that to a certain point tonight. So thank you. You can all go to bed now. It's oh. All right then. Thanks for all that. Commissioners, who's going to report on anything? Anybody? Or council meeting, last council meeting? I don't know. Yeah, so the binder has last year's calendar.
You don't have a time
And
travel.
mine
machine?
mine has no calendar in it.
Don't put it in anymore.
You did the last time, yeah. So what does it say?
Andrew was the 19th.
Andrew was the guy. Okay.
Sorry. Missed that.
All right. Did anybody watch or hear? Amy, can you report on that meeting?
Just pulling it up. multiple agendas. Hold on.
But the big news is a commissioner was selected, right? For
Yes, I can say that. So there were interviews. So there were interviews for the Bike Pedestrian Committee and then also Planning Commission. So Michael Harlock was appointed to the Planning Commission and interviewed. And then on the regular agenda, there was a discussion of let's see, an annual report on staff vacancies, recruitment and retention that our assistant town manager did, making sure I'm on the right. Yeah, May 19th. Okay. And then as far as business items, there was a discussion about Ross Valley paramedic authority and a new tax measure that the staff is hoping to propose. So that'll be coming back to the council, but there was a pretty robust discussion and presentation on that paramedic tax and how our partnership operates with a joint powers authority. So that might be something interesting to listen to, but it is going to come back to the council. There's a lot of questions and concern expressed over finances and just how that tax would operate over time. And then there was a presentation on flood recovery and preparedness actions. So that was, I helped present that as well as Chris Good, our Public Works Director, and Phoebe Golden, our Climate Action Adaptation Coordinator. And so we just reported out on the incident that happened in January and what's occurred since then, and then what we're doing as far as preparations to reduce flood impacts moving forward. I will say, to make things short and sweet, we have applied for many grants and have not received any to date. So that's concerning. But we are moving forward and doing some survey work that will help speed things along for the berm project that we're trying to get funding for. So once we do get funding, hopefully we'd be able to move faster. And we are working on providing better information on how to raise homes and make it a little bit easier for homeowners. So I can forward that staff report and link for the presentation if you want to listen to that one.
yeah.
We do talk about a lot of the work that you've done as far as the zoning code streamlining for folks that are raising their homes that may be subject to design review. And then it provides a good synopsis of some research Tracy did on which homes have been raised and where. So I'll send that to you. And then there was a report on the presentation of the budget. And of course, that's coming back to the council as well. So that'll come back for 2 items. We do have a 2-year budget. So this is a second year of a 2-year budget. And so our finance director went through just the status update on revenue and then what potential changes may be happening for this year's budget. And that was it for that council agenda.
Wow, okay. Was there, only because I received a phone call, was there some discussion about this sculpture project? No? Okay.
Not familiar with that one. Maybe Park and Rec? Or what sculpture project are you thinking about?
It's a gentleman who wants to create a sculpture program for the town. Okay.
I've not heard about
I'll
that.
ask you about that offline.
Okay.
Okay, sorry. I thought he told me it was discussed at the council meeting. Not hearing that it was. Okay. Never mind then. All right, so do you have any notification to us about the next hearing? You want to say anything? Not?
Well, you know, in thinking about what was on the council agenda, there was a meeting on May 5th. Perhaps it was discussed. I don't remember that being on the agenda, but perhaps it came up on items not on the agenda and that he noted. There was also, and I should note this, a discussion about a new policy for board and commission appointments and appointees and absences and making sure that people can serve in accordance with expectations. And so I can send that to you as well. It's just a new policy that kind of lays out how someone can be removed if they aren't showing up to meetings over a certain calendar year. So I will send that to you because that's a new policy.
Oh, great. Okay.
So that was on May 5th, but there wasn't anything art related on that agenda. And then as far as other things, I do have a couple notes. One, we talked about the new commissioner, and two, we do have a training coming up on June 1st, which is next week. And the county put that training together based on survey of all our commissioners in the county and on which dates worked the best. And so far we have Dan, who's attending of our commission. I know, Andy, you said you couldn't make it. Margaret, you can join if you'd like, but I understand it may not be as worthy to you as you're leaving the commission. And then our newest member, Michael Harlock, will be joining. But Valerie, I think you're traveling, so you may not make it.
I
Yes.
thought I
Yeah.
responded that I would be there, but you didn't get that.
No, but did you RSVP to on the link
I
from the
thought I
flyer?
did, but I will go back and check that.
Okay, that'd be great.
If
Because
there
the
is an online link, I would be able to join online, but it seems like when I was looking at it, it was in person only. So, but if there is a possibility for that to be broadcasted, I'll join.
yeah, I don't think there is at this point in time, but the attendance is low enough where I think they are just trying to shake the trees one more time. And if
I would love to join for certain sessions for sure.
yes, I'm sure. Well, it will be recorded if we do move forward with it. So of course, we'll let you know if there's any changes to the schedule, but I think the county's really hoping to get more attendance for this. What's that? Yep, it'll be right here. And I think that's all I have to report out on. For the next agenda, we will have let's see, 56 Madera, which is the assisted living project. So that'll be coming to you for a formal recommendation. And so that will be a really hefty item, which is why we didn't want to move anything else onto that date unless it was fully on consent, which I don't think that was going to happen. And then for June 23rd, Tracy has the item you just continued, then also a project on Meadow Suite, which I know you all have seen previously as well. And then July 14th will be a study session on our commercial code update. And there's going to be a couple additional outreach events prior to that. Now that there's been more work on the code itself, so there will be more drafts to be able to be shared with the community before coming to you. So we'll make sure to keep you apprised of when those get scheduled as well. And I think that's all I have to update you on.
Could you explain what's happening with the Corte Madera post office?
Yes, as far as we know, they are doing, and they're already starting to do some work on the roof. And so they're planning to move operations, I think more retail operations to the Larkspur post office. But I think they're still going to be operating out of here in some fashion. But it's very difficult to know exactly what's going on. But that is what we know so far. And I think they were planning to keep open through the election. And so that might have been in our email Friday and our newsletter, but I'm not sure of the new date.
So is there retail still on until the election?
I believe so. Yes. So we don't know what's happening after that, but they had some immediate roof work that they had to get done.
So how do we find out more about that?
It's through the postmaster and the federal post service, and they're somewhat very separate from local jurisdictions. So it's, you know, probably as much as we do.
Okay.
It's the federal government.
Our official federal government.
that kind of calls it for the night, right? I think we're done. So let's adjourn this meeting. Thank you.